Liz, do you
Carrie.
know I have made, looking back on my journey as a business owner, I have made so many mistakes. I wish I had have known all this stuff. The stuff that I know now, I wish I had have known it back then.
Like
Things.
what? Tell me. What do you mean?
Well, first things first. When I look back, I'm just so embarrassed at some of the things that I done and said, but mainly in terms of I didn't know how important it was to actually build up relationships. I didn't know that there was three phases of relationships in terms of marketing and growing your business.
Yeah.
I didn't
There's,
know that. I know now, but I would like make these cold calls and like research all these organizations that I thought would benefit from my mindset program that I was
yeah.
delivering. And I was like, yeah, this will be so amazing because everybody needs it. And I just was so stupid ringing up these people saying, I have this program and telling them the price over the phone, which was very expensive. It was an investment, so I wasn't selling something cheap. I was selling obviously a very expensive service. And it was just like when I look back and think, what were those people thinking that this girl just gets on the phone and says, "I have a great mindset program, and this is the price that it is, thousands and thousands of pounds. Would you like to buy it?" I just really cringe at myself because
What
I
did that? How did that ever work? You
no,
calling them and say that no one ever bought?
it only ever worked for people I already knew.
Yeah.
All of my clients, all my first batch of clients that came on that at the time it was like £4,500. That's
Yeah.
how much the program
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's more now. If I was still doing that program, I'm not doing that anymore. But if I was, I would be charging more. But every single one of my clients in that first sort of batch, I knew them all. They were
Yeah.
friends, or they were family, or I worked with them, they were colleagues. They weren't strangers, so that's why it worked, because they already knew me. I already had a relationship with these people and they trusted me.
That is really interesting that you say that. I'm trying to think in on my own journey with all of the coaching I've ever done. And that is exactly how I built my base in the beginning. It wasn't like I was a CrossFit coach, like I had become a coach way back in the beginning, but how I built my base to start coaching outside of that was all people I knew. People that knew what I was doing and knew me and had already invested in me as a person and knew what I believed in, what I trusted, and knew that they wanted to know what I was doing, what I could teach them, that sort of thing. And that's no different than when I started life coaching. People knew me as a person and wanted to know, what it was that I was doing. And it's the same thing with business. It seems that no matter what phase I have been in coaching, that the product I offer, whatever it is, it's people first. The people that go first are the people that have already developed. Either I've developed the relationship with them or they've developed the relationship with me, and they want to know what it is that I know, and they feel that it's a trusting space for me to teach them. And that's not to say I've always known all of my clients ahead of time, but those seem to be the people that go first.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think back to one experience in particular, and it was an organization who offer, well-being services. And I had rang them up and said, look, this is what I do. And could I have a meeting? So I was getting a bit better in my communication by asking just for a meeting first before
Right.
talking the price. And I remember going in and it was in the organization was in a bit of a, socially and economically deprived area. So I know their budgets aren't that big. So I went in anyway to talk to the girl, but it was in a shared office
Yeah.
and everyone could hear the
Oh,
conversation.
yeah.
And I was so embarrassed. And she was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great. So how much is this?" And at this stage, it was 5,000. I said, 5,000. And she went, "Oh, God, no. We wouldn't have that type of money. Oh, God, definitely not. No way. No way." And I was like, all right. I was like a little dog, like walking out with my tail between my legs. And it was like, I didn't even ask any questions. I didn't even
Yeah.
ask the budget, which I should have just, if I hadn't known they had a budget and they told me, I would have known there's no way they're going to afford this. Move on. Don't even contact the people because they're not your people. So it's all those bloody mistakes.
Yeah. I think there's so many different ways, like you telling me this, I think there's many different ways you can look at it, right? Like from uh, me as a coach, what have I learned? What are some mistakes I made? That's one way of looking at it. Also kind of what did I learn? Um, what I hear then as a coach listening to the story, I hear it a different way, right? I hear, yeah, you might have done these things. You might have originally tried calling people up and saying these things and practicing what it was and heard a bunch of no's. But that's okay. Like that helped you not only like sharpen your knife, right? Like it helped you define who you are and how you spoke to people, what product it is that you were selling. But I think also being okay, like knowing, okay, these people say no, this is why this is their objection, understanding how to handle objections,
Yeah.
understanding, okay, this is going to be an objection for this person. Like, how do I address their objection in the conversation? And you only know that by doing things like this, going out and trying. So while I think it's a mistake that you learned, I also find it a very valuable mistake. A
Oh,
mis-
yeah.
a huge learning opportunity, you
Totally.
know, in the sense that I really feel like the more you can get in conversations, no matter if you think they can afford it or not, doesn't matter. Like if you're in the business of selling the transformation, which mindset coaching, absolutely. But if you're in the business of selling the transformation, then you sell that transformation
Yeah.
and you let them decide how much that is worth to them to pay
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. And that's it. It's not even that I may have said the word mistake because I don't even see it as a mistake. I
Yeah.
see it as part of the process. It's I'm a teacher at heart. I'm not a salesperson. I
Yeah.
don't have as much experience. I know we talked about this in our last
You
one.
are a salesperson though.
I know I'd see myself as more of a teacher. But it was just in a very uncomfortable zone that I
Oh,
had to get into. Something you have to learn if you own a
yeah.
business, you gotta learn how to sell. Otherwise, you're not going to have a business. And, it was a very valuable lesson because it made me think, all right, this approach doesn't work. You gotta look at something
That's
else.
right.
And then the whole relationship, 3-stage phases of relationship was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yes.
So in terms then of selling to or pitching my services to strangers, what I done was I went to networking events. All the free things, you don't have to pay if you don't want to
Yeah.
join a mastermind or an exclusive group. There are so many free networking things all around your city, wherever you live. I'm sure there's plenty. I know there's plenty here in Belfast, and you can go and network. And that was really valuable to me too. Then that's how I started opening up to people who I didn't know, strangers, and then building up that, nurturing that relationship, warming up that relationship, and letting them know that I'm here for if they ever want those services. So networking is so, so valuable and so, so important. What about yourself, Liz? Did
Yeah.
you
Oh, go ahead.
did you have any struggles with, building relationships, or did you go to any networking things like that so you could open up to a bigger audience, strangers?
So okay, let's see. Did I go to any networking events? Um, I did not understand the value of networking events when I was younger. And I think like in my career, right? Especially as soon as I became uh, a life coach. But I've always loved the energy of getting into groups and like certification events, right? And meeting people. And I would make sure that I'd share contact with people, my contacts with people, and tell people what it is that I did. So getting in there, letting people know I'm a coach. This is what I do. Um, but I never, because my like how I came up in the coaching world seemed to be a little different. I didn't understand how important that was. Just building community of people that are also in business. That is something that I missed out on early on. So, no, I did not. And then once I started to see the value of it, I signed up for a networking event, and COVID hit. And then in my area, people stopped doing um, they stopped doing in-person networking. So it it wasn't something that I could really put into practice until later on. Now it's like, I've got years of experience doing what I'm doing and can walk into any event and start talking to people about what it is that I do, how exciting it is to be in the business I'm in, the energy that it changes. But I, I think it would have been really valuable to develop those skills early on because it was a multi-year process of getting that together. Because right when I thought, oh, I'm going to start networking, I got invited to a networking group. And again, at that point, I didn't really, it wasn't how I came up. I came up in the fitness world, right? And it was like we would have events, we would have gatherings, but I didn't see it so much as networking. But I always thought anything I do, I'll just tell people what it is that I do, and people will want a trainer. And a lot of times that was true.
Yeah.
Like that was really easy. That's not the same for life coach.
I know.
People will always say, "Oh, I need a life coach." And I'm like, "Hit me up." Like,
Yeah.
that's great. That's not networking though. That's not really, it is. It is. You're going out, you're telling people what you do, and you are saying, like making offers to help, but I didn't understand really the value or how to network. And then once I realized its importance, like I said, things shifted a little bit. So I had to shift with that.
Mhm.
And I think that's what essentially led me to, where I was with Coach Builder and then how you and I met. So,
Yeah. It was fate.
yep,
It was fate.
yep, hey,
Oh, okay, so I went first with my little secret, not knowing how to build relationships. What about you? What kind
let's
of
see.
thing?
I have quite a few things that I think in my business are, and I know we use this loosely with mistakes. Mistakes we made. Are they mistakes? I don't know. I think so much of what you do in business is all about learning.
Yeah.
But it's okay to say the word mistake, right? It's okay to say, "Yeah, I made mistakes." And also be like, "But what did I learn from them? How did I grow? How are these valuable?" Always asking questions, right? And so I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was focusing on expert energy, perfection over progress.
Oh my goodness.
And it was really like really being hard on myself to be in expert energy. And I think that comes from the fitness world. For me, it did. Um, of, you know, having to be able to break certain things down to all of to be able to teach other people how to do it, to then repeat it over and over and over again. I felt like that is where my brain is in the sense of how I came up in the coaching world. And so I carried that over into life and then business coaching. But this idea that I have to be perfect before I can move on. And that's
Mhm.
not true. It's not true. Like, we are in the business of one, right? And I'm just writing down a note. I got to write down my notes as I'm speaking because I'll get the inspiration. But being in the business of one, right? And nobody except for us, when you're a coach, you are in the business of one, and nobody except for us can know all of our experiences that have led up to what it is that puts us in this spot now as the guide. All of those experiences lead up to me being able to help people through experiences. If I'm not focusing on the benefits of those, if I'm not looking at how all of those things have taught me what they've taught me, I won't see myself as a guide. I will see myself still on my hero's journey.
Yeah.
And so realizing that I am a guide, I am 10% better than where I was a time before that. I just have to match that space where people are just a little bit behind me so that I can say, oh, you're just right here. This is what I did to get here. Follow me.
Yeah.
Let me show you the way.
Mhm.
But I was thinking I had to be way better than that. And so it stopped me. So that, like, I think about podcasting. I had I had recorded like 3 podcasts in 2017. And by that time I had been listening to podcasts for several years. But I had recorded these podcasts and then I thought they were good, but I didn't know enough about what I was trying to say. So I let that stop me. I didn't record a podcast. And then I had this idea that I wanted to start a YouTube page. And I was like, I've got so many ideas and so many things I can talk about and so many experiences that I would love to share. But I felt like I didn't quite know how to do it and therefore stopped. It was like this idea of how do I get started? I let that mean something. And I let that be the stumbling block that stopped me from progress. And we don't have to do that. We don't have to let those things stand in our way. We just have to look at them with an eye of how can I use this?
Mhm.
Like, how can I move around the stumbling block as opposed to just getting stuck?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say a lot of business owners are the same. A lot of people out there because it's, procrastination, I think is the thing holding us back. But at the deeper core, it's probably just imposter syndrome thinking I'm not good enough
Yeah.
and it needs to be absolutely
Yeah.
perfect. And fear of making a mistake, a fear of falling on your face and making an idiot out of yourself, as we would say here, or someone criticizing. It's just all fear. That is really, really at the deep core of it all. And then that masks itself as procrastination and we put it off because we think it needs to be perfect. But I love what you said there. You only need to be 10% ahead. And it's
Mhm.
like in airplanes,
Yeah.
like going to pilot and they want to know if there's turbulence up ahead, they'll ask the plane that's like a couple of thousand miles in front of it or couple hundred miles in front. They
Yeah.
ask pilot who's already went through the turbulence, how bad is it? If they don't really need to ask people on the ground because they haven't experienced the turbulence. So yeah, absolutely. Definitely the perfection thing I think holds a lot of people back. And it
Yeah.
is just the fear of, you know, everything. Fear of so much.
Absolutely. And I remind myself that every day. Like, I feel fear all the time. I feel fear about putting myself out there. I feel fear about sending out an email. I feel fear, well, which is also putting yourself out there, but it constantly comes around to putting myself out there. I feel fear, whatever it is, talking to people, coaching people, meeting people, doing whatever. And I I used to not really have the language around it, so I would focus on the fear. And now I realize that anything I do, I can just focus on the result that I want to create, right? So I remind myself I'm sending out emails because I want to get the message out there of what it is that I'm doing. I'm doing social media because I want to make sure that people know what it is that I'm, like where it is that I'm going with my business, how I can help, what problems I'm helping people solve, what I'm setting up for people. And then if I feel any kind of stickiness around that, I just remember progress over perfection. I'm
Mhm.
just making little steps. The social media is like that is one step. It's not going to make or break me. It's one step. Sending out an email is one step. And we've talked about so much of this stuff. I send out an email, people unsubscribe. Okay, not my audience.
Mhm.
It's okay. Progress over perfection. And just, I keep repeating that to myself. Feel, there's going to be fear. Feel that fear. That fear doesn't mean stop. That means fear is all it means.
Yeah. Just
Make
feel it,
prog
do it, meh.
feel it and do it
Yeah.
anyway.
Anyway, I came across a quote somewhere, and I can't even remember exactly how it goes, but this was the gist of it. No one ever came across something just by sitting on their sofa. But if
Yeah.
you get up and take action, you're bound to stumble across something.
Yes.
You're bound to. I mean, it's the law. If you take action, you will come across something.
That's right.
And you just
Absolutely.
have to keep going, and it just even if you're tired, you can take a break, you can take a nap,
But
but
this
you
yeah.
gotta just keep going. And I always imagine myself in the future, like, if I'm sitting here going, "Oh, if I made it really, really big, and I was doing a podcast and they asked me what contributed to your success or whatever," there's a million different things that have happened, but it all boils down to just keep going.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
You try a million different things, that's okay, but you just keep going and you
It
don't get
doesn't boil down to sitting on the couch and thinking about doing it,
no, it doesn't.
right?
Or wishing that you'd done something or meditating on it, even though, I'm a meditator and it's
Yeah.
one of the most amazing things you can do. You still gotta get up and take that action. Nothing before action, you know? So, um, yeah. So, okay. So we talked about not knowing the importance of building up relationships and it's not even that it's mistakes we made, it's things we wish we had have known at the start.
And I think that's even better. It's a better way to look at it. Things we
It's
wish we would have known.
yeah, yeah, we wish
If
we
I
had have
can
known.
if I can add, I just wanna add one thing, and I wanna ask your thoughts on this because this kind of builds on the perfection idea. It's what we do, and especially because the old adage of leaders go first, right? Like leaders are going to be the way. They're gonna lead the way. They're gonna do the thing. They're gonna feel the fear. They're gonna do it anyway, whatever. But leaders go first. Okay, so we understand that. This is for the people watching the leaders. This is for the people that are sitting back and knowing that they want to take action, that they want to do something, but right now they're sitting back and thinking, I want to do the thing, right? And this is where that little stumbling block, progress over perfection, that's where the stumbling block of perfection comes in. But it's when the people watching compare their beginning to the leader's end.
Yeah,
Right? They compare where they are in that moment to what the person that they're watching, where they are in their current moment and feel like they should be there.
yeah,
And there is nothing that is just, I would say, more aggressive to do to yourself than
yeah,
do that. You can't compare your beginning to someone else's end. It
yeah,
hits, it leaves that space for compare and despair
yeah,
and inaction.
yeah. Totally. And when you think about it though, every single person's life is so different. People have different responsibilities. You can have
Absolutely.
someone who you would consider as mega successful successful, but they may not have young children, but
Yeah,
you do. So
yeah,
you're actually juggling, parenthood with building a business. So
right.
it's Like, it's just ridiculous when you think of it logically, even though we are illogical, we're just so emotional. Sometimes we don't think logically, but if you think of it in that way, it is so ridiculous to compare anyone's life or anyone's success, because even like our versions of success are different. People would say, "Oh, you're not successful until you're a billionaire." Some
Yeah.
people will say, "No, you're not successful until you have a family." Or until you lose weight or whatever. Everybody has different version of success. So it's just ridiculous to even think about that. I think that's just the animal hind brain
Yeah.
thinking lack.
Yep.
They have that
Yep.
and I don't love it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You said something and it really, everybody's idea of success resides within them, right? So they can spout off what they believe success is. But that also means that your idea of success resides within you.
Mhm.
And our thoughts create our facts. Our thoughts create our reality. And we get to decide what success is every step of the way. And we get to really look at what that idea of success is and what makes us successful. And that's why the importance of thinking, the importance of beliefs in your business, how it is that you set those things up, how it is that you create goals and then move towards those goals, why that's so important.
Mhm.
Because you get to decide your success along the way. And as you reach those goals, as you're moving along, it really speaks to you being able to be in your own energy of success,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
somebody else's idea of success.
Absolutely, and it should always be what you think success is. I mean, even me and Kieran have di some similar, but we do have some very different ideas of success.
Yeah.
Kieran's a businessman, and maybe it's a male thing as well, because men are more wired, and it's not to be sound sexist, it's just a biological fact. Men are more wired to, provide and to earn money, because that's how you give security and all of that, even though women want that too. And I want that, of course. So Kieran's version of success would be, having like plenty of like real estate, or, you know, so much money in the bank, because that's the whole security thing. And of course, money is important, but in my terms, one of the most important measures of success for me is that I raised my two children to be sensible and responsible human beings for when they have to go out into the world.
Yeah.
If I do that for my kids and bring them up that way, that's one of the biggest markers of success that I will ever dedicate my life to, is
Yeah.
growing and raising two children that will go out into the world and make a positive impact and don't infringe on the rights of other people, while also respecting themselves. To just
Yeah.
two sensible adults is what I want to raise. So as well as keeping a roof over their head, and bringing them on holidays and giving them memories and stuff like that. So even people very close to us will have different versions of success, and that's
Absolutely.
okay. It's okay. It's just about being true to what you want. Whether you own your own business or whatever your version of success is, that's okay. And you don't have to explain it to anyone, but just stay in alignment with that as much as you can, and
Love that.
stay. Yeah. Um, do you have anything
What's
else to add?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on, there's so much talk, especially like people love using this as a selling point of how you build your social media pages out or how you build your business out, especially around coaching. But the idea of niche or niche depends on how you pronounce it. But I say niche. I don't know how
I
you
say
say
me.
it. Yeah. Um, what are your thoughts about niche and niching? Niching down is you know,
Yeah, well, again, I have experience of this, which I wish I had known at the start. I didn't have a niche whenever I was, only doing mindset coaching, because, of course, we know mindset resonates with everyone. Every single person on the planet can benefit from
yeah,
mindset work. So I didn't niche down, because I thought, no, I'm speaking to the whole world. But unfortunately, that then impacted my marketing, and I didn't then know how to market my business through my social media and etc. I didn't know how to do it correctly. So I really wasn't speaking to very many people because I wasn't hitting a certain niche that had a certain problem that I could solve. I was just like, mindset. I just kept talking about bloody mindset. And I know it is a buzzword now and people thankfully know what mindset means. But again, it doesn't really, if you just like myself saying mindset, it doesn't really speak to the solution. What is the problem I'm going to help you overcome? And and that was one of the biggest, oh my goodness, one of the biggest lessons I learned, Liz, and I wish I'd have known at the start. If I had have known my niche and I had have known how to clarify my marketing message, I would have made so I don't even want to think of how much money I have thrown away because I didn't specific, target a specific market,
Yeah.
and now that I am, my target market is small business owners at the minute and for my marketing services. And then for my mindset work, the life plan that is aimed towards business owners and professional people.
Yeah.
Um, it just means I can communicate so much more clearly when
Yeah.
when I'm sending these people emails or when I'm writing social media posts, because I know who my audience are, I can speak to them. So I think it's important to niche
Yeah.
because of of informing then your marketing message. What about you?
Yeah. My ideas of niche are interesting because I think that you can look at niching two different ways. And I know that I've always been taught to niche down, get very specific. It doesn't mean that you can't help other people, but it means that you're speaking to something clearly. Whatever it is, you're able to speak to something clearly. But um, niching has always been a struggle for me. And I think the reason being is that I just, I don't know how to speak to just one thing. Like, even when I was a fitness coach, I was a fitness coach that was obsessed with wellness and then how to build a business around that and then how to incorporate, you know, all these different things. Sure, the niche was fitness, but and I could look at the thing as a niche, but I couldn't niche myself and my ideas. And so it was always a struggle. When I found life coaching, I very much resisted niching because I was like, people are complicated. They're going to have all these different things. I think you can look at niching as a very basic idea of the you're not helping just one kind of people. You're looking at one kind of problem. And
Yeah.
one kind of problem, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And so if you're looking at a problem and how you work with that problem, I think it's okay to niche that way, right? I think it's also okay to realize that if you're you as the individual wanting to niche, you are your niche. You and all of your life experiences and all of the things that you've studied, like as let's say niching as a coach, I have done obviously fitness, wellness, hypnosis, meditation, um, like lifestyle, gardening, business coaching, like all these different areas, because that's my human design.
Yeah.
That's my human experience, right? My human experience is multifaceted. I have many different interests. I have many different ideas. And so taking all of that information and realizing there are a lot of people like me, and there are a lot of people like me that want to have human experience in all of these things. And also, it can be messy and it can be this, and it's good to have a coach and it's good to have coaching and it's still good to build a business and it's good to get messaging when you have all these interests, right? And so being able to look at niching as a benefit because I can see that I am my niche. And there are people out there that are just like me. And there are over 7 billion people on this planet. I don't have to speak to 7 billion people. I just have to take all of those experiences and all of those things that I've learned from those experiences that puts me a little bit ahead of where somebody else is that wants to also have experiences and wants to learn where I am. I can be that guide for them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be too much, but it does allow me to speak to them. It does allow me to guide them. And it does allow me to help them with what it is, like wherever they are in their journey based on what I've experienced.
Mhm.
And I just, yeah, I think that's really my idea of niching. I resisted it, then I embraced it, and now I work with it.
Yeah, you've
It's
come
been
full
kind of,
circle.
yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
What I loved what you said there was because maybe the idea, I know it was for me, the idea of niching down was a bit intimidating because it's like, again, with mindset, no, it's for everyone. But you feel like if you have to niche down, you're going to actually cut yourself off from so many people, but you're actually
Yes.
not because you're it's training you. I think niching is training you to be specific and really clear in your messaging and who it is you're targeting. Because if you have different products and different services, then niche for those other products and services.
Yeah.
But I think what you said there would really, really help someone if they were feeling intimidated by having to niche down. What you said was, what is the problem you solve?
Yeah.
You even lead with that and say, okay, I have 15 products. Okay, fine. Go through each product or service and find out what problem does this product or service solve. And then when you find out what problem it solves, brainstorm who are those people
Yeah.
that probably are experiencing that problem. So, for example, one of the problems I solve is helping small business owners grow their business by getting in more clients and customers. Um, and how I do that is through clearing up their marketing
That's right.
message.
That's right.
And so that's the problem I solve. So once I know that problem, I'm not going to be advertising that to school teachers or, you know, bus drivers, whatever. They're not business owners. So I'm not going to waste my time marketing to people who don't have that. They're never going to have that problem because they are not self-employed. They don't have their own business. So look at, I would say that it's just, again, I wish I had have known that at the start. If I know what problem do I solve, then I can niche out my market and then gather all of my marketing collateral and, focus it around that problem and that specific audience that has that problem.
Yeah, I think that speaks to something that really deserves energy, right? That really deserves, and the fact that when you show, when you lead, when you go first as somebody that solves a specific problem, you're showing your route. You're showing the way that you guide people through a certain problem. People are smart enough to know to be able to watch you do the thing that you do and realize that if you can do that, you've figured out the formula of how to do that in other areas of your life and other areas of their lives. So when people see you solving problems in one area, they know you know how to solve problems.
Mhm.
And there is nothing that speaks to somebody more than when they have a problem that they want solving and they don't understand how to solve it, to see somebody around them that solves problems, to see somebody around them that has figured it out. And not only has figured it out, but is willing to guide, is willing to help.
Yeah.
And that means everything to somebody that is in the middle of it, in the mess, and wants to see themselves out of it and is looking for somebody to help be that guide.
Yeah, totally. Because if you think that back to all the products or services that you've bought probably your whole life, because you were having some sort of problem, and most probably of those things that you bought or purchased, no one had to get you in a headlock to make you buy
Mm,
them because you have your own brain. You know, I'm experiencing this problem and this company or business can solve that for me.
that's
You
right.
know, giving people the benefit of the doubt to know, okay, people know that they can have a solution to their problem. You just have to get really good at marketing yourself that you're the solver of that problem. You
Absolutely.
know, that brings us back to the conversation we had before about not being that sleazy salesperson. You don't need to be a sleazy salesperson. If you communicate really, really clearly and effectively about the problem that you solve, people will naturally come to you. You know, obviously you have to advertise and stuff. You have to obviously do like a sales funnel and a marketing campaign for that. But if you do that right, you know, you'll not have to convince anyone. They'll come
Yeah.
in truckloads because they want their problem solved, you
That's
know?
it. That's absolutely it, and I think that's our job as a coach to be there, and show people, like, in our own messaging, like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I talk about, this is what problems I solve, this is how what I do helps people that are dealing with this specific thing, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
repetition is the mother of skill. Like, it also is a vibration, right? It saying that, believing that, embodying that, and then saying it again, it really does make its mark, and it creates a pathway. And it creates a pathway for not only you to move in, but for others to follow. And I just think
absolutely.
it's really, really important in what we do. Um, I think we're gonna have to devote a whole another episode to all of the things that we've learned along the way and wish we would have known, and maybe even made mistakes in, but have
And
learned from those mistakes.
yeah,
Because I think we're at time now, but
I know
I
we can
really
do
wanna
part.
keep going because I feel like this could be a whole other hour. Like, this is
I
just
know.
so good.
Yeah, we'll have a part
Oh my
2. That's what we'll do. This is part 1.
absolutely.
We'll do part
All
2.
right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Well,
Alright.
thank you so much for being here and
Yay.
doing this. I
Oh, my pleasure. Always.
always, these conversations are so valuable. I feel like I just learned so much with each one. So I'm really
Me
grateful for you.
me too. Me too. Thank you, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. See you soon.
Alright. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
It's not coming. Oh, yeah.